Welcome, everybody, to the December 15th Select Board meeting. Will you join me in saying the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first up, we have the warrants. Brian, you the general fund. All right, general fund warrant here, which goes up till today, so December 15th, 2025. Total amount is $18,723.81, which is one of the lower ones that I can recall. No real health insurance in this one, but lots of things like IT and electric bills and cleaning and normal, regular, frequent things like that. With that said, I make a motion to pass the general fund warrant in the amount of $18,723.81.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jeff, I believe you have two payroll warrants.
Yeah, two payroll warrants. The first one is dated December 5th, 2025, and that one is in the amount of $42,777.35. And the second warrant dated December 12th, 2025 is in the amount of $49,525.68. And I would move that we would approve these as presented. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and Jack, you have, I think, 4 or 5.
I got a pile.
Warrants there.
Big pile. Okay. Start with the small one. Industrial park warrant in the amount of $746.39. And that's for, I gather, electricity for the pumps and lights and all that stuff. And, Stonehouse warrant in the amount of $946.70. That must be stuff for the Holly Jolly Jamboree. Okay. Stormwater utility warrant for engineering, $722.30. Fire department warrant for $14,500. Is that fixing the boat?
Yeah, so it's paying for half of the undercoating of the boat, basically to replace that boat, which is scheduled on our plan to get replaced in 4 years, would be about $500,000. By refinishing the fiberglass on the bottom for about 28, we can get another 10 to 15 years out of it. So we're going ahead to do that work, and that's covering half the cost. We pay the other half when the boat's done.
Okay. And finally, infrastructure development warrant in the amount of $296,670.30. Nope, that's not the last one.
It's a payment on this building.
This building and some demolition services for that house over there.
Yep.
And one more hit. Impact fee warrant, $30,767.45, and looks like some engineering. What's the award and engraving? What's that stuff?
Oh, the fire department bought new radios.
Oh,
And so we used impact fee money to pay for it because they had a good balance there and more radios are needed to cover more properties in the town.
yeah, okay.
And the award and engraving, is that for those?
They engrave the number of the thing. So for security reasons, like you get assigned radio number, and
So
they know that's that number.
that was just the engraving. The actual radios cost $27,663.70. So I would move that we approve these as presented.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. The warrants, in your packet, you have the minutes from, December 1st. If somebody would like to make a motion on that to
So
approve?
moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Anybody want to come up for a public comment? Not tonight? Perfect. Okay, next up, our Public Works Director. Come on up, Kevin.
You want me to share
Yep.
this? Yeah, I just want to, so it's on Zoom. Oop, sorry. I can hand it to you if you might be able to see it better than I can to get into a slideshow.
Then you just have to make sure to.
So I'll give a preamble. Kevin just wanted to come in. Obviously, he came on board in June with us. New year, we had a lot of projects this summer, more than we typically would. So he put together a presentation just to educate the public and you all of all the work we've gotten done this year.
So you see that on Zoom, that sharing?
Yeah.
You have to go to share though. I think it's.
I thought I already hit share. Oh, no. Yeah.
And then you got to click share. Should be good
Yep.
now.
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. You can see that okay, Jen? Or are the other video boxes in the way?
No, we can see the screen perfectly.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Yeah, so good preamble. Wanted to just, give busy summer, real busy summer in Public Works, a lot of work done, a lot of great work done. Wanted to just catch you up. I feel like for me, it was, I started right at the end of May and right in the construction season and just, I can't believe it's December already. So I wanted to just kind of like check back in and give you kind of an informal update on some of the projects and successes that we had this year, and maybe even talk a little bit about what's going to be coming up over the next year or so. So I think also too, I want to emphasize that I did just start, and a lot of these projects were years in the making. And so all the good work that Julie, who's joining me, and John and Dave Allerton and everybody else that put towards these, that's what made this year busy, was the work that was taking place over the last 2 or 3 years. So I think you can't understate that enough. So first project that I wanted to show you is the Fairfax Street culvert. And I know I kind of gave you all an update on this, but I think it's still good for everybody to see some photos and see what's, these are not just small, quick culvert projects. They're pretty substantial projects. So this was Fairfax Street culvert, total road closure. This was kind of at the base of the culvert, $171,000. We got a $46,000 grant for that. This is an aluminum culvert, which is interesting. I'll give you a little bit of detail too, if you're interested. So that whole culvert just showed up on a pallet, and they had a specialty crew come out and bolt it all together, install it. And it's actually fairly light. They're able to lift it and place it into place, right into this little, you can see there's a little bit of bedding sand. There's like a specific type of bedding that they like to have that type of culvert in. So project went well. We were worried about a water line that ended up being quite a bit below our culvert, so that was not a factor. Another interesting feature you can kind of see in the base of the culvert, there's these little weirs. That's a new trend, is so you set that culvert down, that fills in with sand and stone, and then it gives this impression that there's a natural bottom. So it kind of mimics the stream channel. Mm-hmm. It's called aquatic organism passage, so creatures are more comfortable going up and down the stream. So kind of an interesting little design feature on that.
Can you mention, Kevin, that's like, what, 6 feet tall?
So this is, I think, 48 inches tall. Or yeah, just around there. So it's a good sized culvert. And you can see the photo on the left is what was there, which was very small. So and so yeah, and also like on a total road closure too, it's like the bar gets raised a little bit. And so we developed a stakeholder list. We try to make sure like EMT, school bus, post office, and really tried to improve our, worked on good communication just to make sure that, and it can always improve, but we really wanted to make sure everybody knew how things were going. And there's always room for improvement there, but something we worked on. There we go. So this is the next total road closure, large culvert project that we had. This is the French Hill Road culvert. This is at the very top of French Hill, downstream of the Beaver Dam. I don't know what that pond is called, but it's right downstream of that. And I think these pictures are great because they illustrate the size of the project that it was. That's a significant concrete box structure that came in different units with the massive wing walls, and all that had to be lowered into place with cranes while navigating overhead utilities and phone and power. And so project went well. You can see actually in this photo as well, you can see the stone in the bottom of the new culvert. So it's the same principle as what we talked about on Fairfax Street, where you have that natural stream bed bottom. Make sure I'm covering all my notes here. Yeah, and so then the picture on the right, like that's what the existing culvert looked like. That's not an exaggeration. That's how it came out of the ground. Like essentially the bottom was gone. So good that we removed it. So those are the two big culvert projects. We did, again, we usually said it, we have $500,000 in paving. We did about 550,000 this year, but we got a $115,000 grant from V-Trans for Kellogg Road, which is a class 2. So that lowered our overall paving cost. French Hill, Kellogg, Perry, Hill Farm, and Cedar Drive. French Hill, it's worth talking about again because that wasn't just an overlay. It wasn't just a mill and fill. It was a full depth reclamation. So they do a process where we grind essentially the top 18 to 24 inches of material, mix it all up, compact it, and then pave a base layer and then a top coat. So it's a more substantial paving project than just what we did on Perry or Hill Farm, for example. And I think French Hill was real busy this year, and I think it kind of is a good example of some of the coordination and planning we did with our guys and with our contractors. So we knew we were doing this big culvert at the top of the road. So and we knew we didn't want to be in the way our town crews. So prior to them starting, we started our tree work. We did some ditching along the edge of French Hill. The big contractor, Munson, shows up to do the entire large concrete box structure. They finish up, we come back, we did our crosscut culverts. Then once the Munson was done and we were done, then this paving contractor showed up, paved the road, did the full depth, then line striping, then a little more tree work, and then today we finally repaired some guardrail up there. So busy year, a lot of coordination, a lot of juggling things, but it worked out well. And
that repair is because when we put the new guardrail in, there was an accident like the first weekend, right?
Yeah, something like
So we had to replace it already.
Yeah, but we had to raise it a little bit too after we paved, so it's worked out. And feel free to jump in, ask questions. So now there's 2 stormwater practices that we had under construction. This is Tanglewood. Tanglewood started last fall. The picture on the left was from last fall when the project started. We wrapped it up this year. $578,000 project, $460,000 in grants to help pay for that. We're still going to go into next year with some landscaping and cleanup work and, you know, we're done with construction. We expect a little bit of settlement and cleanup work. So we'll be back next year. We have spoken to each of the property owners surrounding the practice to get their input on potential landscaping around the practice, just to soften the sight lines a little bit. We also, so left photo is when they started construction. The center photo is after a big storm this fall, and you can see it's capturing all the water that does flow down into that area. Goes out the concrete box outlet structure you can see in the top left of the photo. And from there, it goes down a new 36-inch pipe that we installed all the way from Rugbrook all the way up to the Tanglewood stormwater practice. And that's the photo on the right. And that was not a small feat.
That wasn't in the original plan.
It wasn't. The original plan was to line the existing 24-inch pipe, but after this, big rainstorm, actually before I started in the spring, that really caught everybody off guard. And at the end of the day, this is a much better product. This, that existing 24 went down between, the property owner here, and essentially it was just sitting on the ground. Like it had a little bit of topsoil on it, but we had town infrastructure going through somebody's yard that was really had leaks in it, wasn't completely buried, and it was, it's hard to say, let's do a bunch of water work and then not pay attention to where it's going to go from there. And I think we improved that situation by running that 36-inch all the way down. Property owner was super cooperative. We had an existing easement, and they're thrilled with how it came out. You can, in the top of the photo, you can see they had a big drop off on the side of their house. And essentially we ended up needing that drop off for our pipe. So our pipe went in, that drop off came up, and now they have a level yard. So it's a lot easier to mow and maintain. And
So he's all happy?
they're very happy. Yeah. Yeah. And before we started this, we thought that there was a reason that existing pipe was on so shallow. We thought it might have been bedrock. And so the first day where they started digging and they were able to get that 36-inch deep was just like, because otherwise we would have had to put that 36-inch fairly shallow and then done a lot of filling to improve it.
And then Kevin, when we toured it, like as the select board, like when we went out and you gave us a tour of it and it had the galvanized fence and you talked about like it was supposed to be black and then we had an invoice for it. So how did that change go? Did they give you like a credit for changing it to black? Or?
Yeah, so there was a bunch of change orders at the end, balancing change orders. They gave us a credit back for the galvanized. We just took it out of the contract and did the fence work ourselves because they wanted to get out of there. That contractor had been on that project for too long, and we still needed a little bit of time to get it in the way we wanted it. I think that's what we're really, especially John, myself, and Julie are all really thinking about is the fence is going to be a major impediment to maintenance. And so like we need to look at a fence and say, how are we going to get in here with the vent track and mow this and maintain it? Like, is it going to be in the way? Is it going to be a problem? Like, because that's when we have to, I think the engineering plans seem to just say, put a fence around it, and that's not really fits our needs. So to answer your question, we got a credit for the galvanized, took it out of the contract. We are still over our original contract value because we added a couple other things, including the 36-inch pipe, but we did pretty good. Like this one definitely, when we paused the project and we had that big storm, we paused the project, we grouped, it felt like we were trying to wrestle this thing to keep it under control and under budget. And we did pretty good to keep it close to what the original contract value was. There's a lot going into this stuff, but so one of the big advantages that we had was that the cost of lining that existing 24-inch pipe almost was a wash for the installation of that new 36-inch pipe. So that was huge. So when we took that lining out, it was essentially the same price as putting the 36-inch pipe in. So that's where that really saved us. If the lining had been a fraction of what the new 36-inch pipe in, our value in that contract would have gone up quite a bit. So does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you must have left one or two pretty good gates in that fence to get in there, right? Or
Yeah, there's
you gotta go in,
several
go in
gates.
where we went in, where they had the wood mats. Is that where the gate's gonna?
The majority of the work, if we're maintaining it, we're coming off Potter.
Oh,
So right at the outlet structure.
yeah.
We do have an easement where we walked in, but that's much more through somebody's yard. So if
Right.
we were gonna bring in maintenance equipment, I'd much prefer to come in from Potter down that way. There is a gate where we walked in on those wood mats. It's not a gate, it's actually, you can just pick it up off of the hinges and move it aside if we ever had to come in and clean that forebay. But I still think we can do it from the other direction.
Kevin, can you please talk about the catch basin we put in up there? That also expanded the scope of the project,
Yeah,
a little upstream.
yeah, we talked about this. So the other factor on this project is the coordination with the HOA, the Tanglewood HOA. They have a separate contract with their own engineering firm to make recommendations for ditching improvements, drainage improvements. And in the southeast corner, which is, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's at the base of the U, there's a lot of water that comes down between the houses, and it is Tanglewood drainage. And it was all summer long, even though we had a really, really dry summer, there was groundwater just seeping up. And so we knew we couldn't just leave that without addressing it some way. And so we put in an additional catch basin with a direct drainage line all the way to our outlet basin, which is on the other side of the outlet structure, just to improve the drainage in that corner. And so the goal there is we got our work to a logical place where the HOA can then match our work. So if they purge their French drain lines, they locate them and then purge them and clean them, then they have a pipe that they can essentially plumb into and improve that drainage. And so we continue to be in conversations with the HOA president about that.
I just think it's good how we also went a little above and beyond to kind of help out those issues between Meadowbrook and Tanglewood, kind of further upstream. You know, it's probably 75 or 100 feet, but maybe not even. But
it was work that we uniquely could do, whereas the HOA, it's moving a large concrete structure. It's kind of installing a drainage pipe that's, it's not rotor-rooter, it's heavy construction. So Clyde Allen, this is where we are now, and thankfully this will be the last, we're out there right now. So this will be the last week. We are setting the final structure tomorrow. We're going to, it's been a challenging project, I think, for two reasons: the amount of utilities, and winter just came and just on it, like it came fast and just pretty relentless, but we're working through it. It's going well. It's challenging, but I think the reason we're out there right now, and I think you're all aware of this, is we have a $360,000 grant that expires at the end of March. And so we've been told by the state that we need to have all our invoices and proof of payments in by middle of February. And so here we are. We're going to try and get one big invoice in for your next warrant to get a big chunk of the construction cost, and then do another smaller reimbursement probably sometime in January, just to keep that going. And then next spring, our contractor will be back out to do some cleanup work, and there's obviously going to be cleanup and touch-up work next year.
So tell me a little bit here about this. I know quite a few years back, you had a lot of trouble there. We put new culverts under Floyd Allen because the ones they had weren't big enough.
for Rug Brook.
Right.
Those look good.
I know, but they've only been there 10 or 15 years. So what are you doing here now?
It's the same as Tanglewood. It's a stormwater practice. So
So there's a pond, you're making a
a
pond?
pond, we're making a pond.
But it's not in Rug Brook, it's to the side, right?
Rug Brook is right. If you're looking at the picture with the snow, you'll see that little concrete outlet structure where the guy in the yellow jacket
Rug
is.
Brook's down in the trees.
Rug Brook is down in the trees. So the water is going to enter this practice. This picture is you're standing up on Clyde Allen looking down. Water enters this practice. There's a little floor bay on the right-hand side. It filters, enters that concrete outlet structure, goes out to Rug Brook. And it captures water from both sides of Clyde Allen too. So we've had to go across a couple yards.
And is this one gonna have a fence as well?
Yep. I think we're gonna do that next spring. I think we're not gonna try and force that in this year. It will be black. So we made sure that there's no confusion about that in this project. I think that's it for Clyde Allen. Any questions on that one? I know everybody's been cooperative. We destroyed Casey's lawn a little bit. ECI backed up onto his lawn, so we'll get that taken care of.
It was the day of that blizzard. They were out there because they had some utility work they had to do. They had to back all their vehicles around the turn. I live on the U, so they had to back around and they just slipped one off the road. So they'll fix it in the spring. So
Yeah.
not a big deal, but
And Mike's been plowing it for us, for the town, and he's been really patient and cooperative and kind of understands the situation. So, but we're looking forward to getting out of that neighborhood. So,
Again, we wouldn't normally start a project at this time of year. It's just, we didn't want to lose that money.
Saves money. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, how is the crew doing with the snow coming like most days?
They're good. I think it's been we've had like a bunch of quick snow squalls and a couple of surprise storms, but like the road conditions have been good. Couple, I think I got one call that French Hill was a challenge, but like other than that, they're good. I think they also had a real busy summer with all the ditching and the culvert work, tree work. That it's kind of like I think they like that transition to plowing. So yeah, no, they're good.
Well, I came down here, was it last week after that storm? And our roads were good, and then I got on 36, a state road.
I noticed that too.
And I thought we had taken it over and were flacking off, but apparently we haven't got it yet.
Yeah, the town roads were good.
Yeah, exactly.
Town
Yeah.
roads were really good.
Yeah. So speaking of the guys, this is just some pictures from ditching we did. We did a lot of ditching this year. And that's Julie in the center photo, Bob in the excavator. They do great work. Like the machine, the excavating work is real clean and well done. Good at shooting grades. We hydroseed it. That's been a useful tool to have. The hot box, that's that portable asphalt machine. It keeps the asphalt hot. That's been really good for doing cross cuts. Gives you a nice clean finished product, and it's easier. So it's also an easier tool for the guys. You're not getting asphalt out of a dump truck. It's like made for kind of a daily use all over town. That's been a really good tool to have. I added the second. So we got I think it was $11,000 Vermont, a grant from VTrans for, essentially improving water quality ditching. And so it was kind of a process. We had to do a little bit of paperwork, but our guys kept track of some of the days that they were doing, that got costs of rental equipment, and Julie kind of compiled it and submitted it to the state, and we got $8,300 back just for offset some of their costs, which is not much, but like they all, like we don't like to leave money on the table either, so they totally get it. And I think we've developed a process where in the next years it's going to be even easier. We'll just know what we need to collect and submit and process. So Yeah, so Kellogg, I mentioned French Hill, Kellogg, we did that ahead of paving, small ditching on Congress, Little County and Patton Crosby. A lot of tree work too. We did a lot of tree work and actually we're gonna be starting Cohen Park within the next couple of weeks, felling some of those ash trees that are dead.
All the tree guys are parked at the town garage. They're still doing our stuff, or is it just parked?
Asplund, yeah. I think they might, I don't know, that's a good question. They're,
Working for Green Mountain Power.
yeah. But I haven't seen them, so I think they might be north right now, or,
I just passed them the other day. They were on the Quam Shore right in front of, the guy who sell Christmas trees.
yeah.
Yeah, right there the other day, they were set up.
Yeah,
So they're all right up.
there, yeah.
They got all our ash trees that we had down this year, or?
Yep. Lot of ash trees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I went out with Dave and John and we went all over.
yeah, yeah, yeah. DJs did a lot of our ash tree work this year, but I think we spent 20 grand. But then, and that doesn't even include all the work that we did in-house too. So stormwater practices, the photo on the left is the goats that we had. I just like the photo and they went over, we had them in the industrial pond, stormwater pond. It's all poison parsnip. And so, guys are concerned about weed whacking and mowing it. And so put a bunch of goats in there, really didn't cost anything. And a couple of days later, they'd kind of taken it right down. And so it's kind of cool to see. And we kind of did it just to test, like, is this
Yeah, they
work?
worked
Does
good.
it? I think it worked
We
pretty
got,
well.
I don't know, we got 4 or 5 goats and some sheep. And we throw our Christmas trees in there,
Yeah,
stall, and strip them nice.
just right down.
Huh.
They
Yeah.
really like the brush.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
You guys would use them again then?
I think we would.
You shattered my worldview that goats are good for nothing.
Oh, yeah. They were funny. They were like, yeah, and
I know they do.
we would go over and like there'd be a goat lying on its side, just still eating.
I don't think they eat milkweed.
There's certain things they don't eat,
They don't
which is
eat milk.
surprising.
Yeah. The one thing I've heard though, somebody's like, you gotta make sure you don't pet the goats because they can get, if they have the poison parsnip
Oh, yeah,
on their fur, you can still get it that way.
that stuff's bad.
Yeah, it's nasty.
I got tangled up in it a few years ago. It was like a, I don't know, it was all
Yeah.
red.
So like, yeah, the goats it was just a trial thing. Industrial park was an easy one because it was all contained, fenced in. Essentially, it was just like put them in and then.
They use them a lot in solar. Where there's
Yeah.
solar farms that are fenced. They
Yeah.
Use them a lot in there.
Yeah. Center is the diversion canal. And so this was John Montang and Neil did a nice job. They got the vent track, which has been a really helpful, useful piece of machinery. So that kind of, we want to stay ahead of the diversion canal. We don't want woody material to grow up because then it just becomes a lot more material. So if we can get in there and mow it periodically, maybe twice a year with the vent track, it'll keep future maintenance kind of in a much more manageable way.
And whereabouts is that, Kevin?
This is the downstream end. Like you're almost down at the concrete outlet structure looking up the canal.
Behind like Jolly's down,
Yeah, between,
like Guyat Circle and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you all familiar with the diversion canal structure? Or is it? We're working with the city right now. So
Yeah, I saw the notes from
yeah.
the meeting about that. Yep.
Yeah, so essentially the Stevens Brook comes down. There's I think it's a 42-inch culvert. And when the water in Stevens Brook can't go through that 42-inch anymore, it overtops a weir and goes into the diversion canal, runs down the canal into Rug Brook, hence the diversion. And so,
Been there for years.
yeah, it's built in 57 or something like that. But then it was retrofitted in 2009 by ECI, and they added 3 detention bases so that when the water does overtop, it has a chance to settle and then flow down. But it's a pretty significant piece of infrastructure.
It hadn't been taken care of. It was quite a jungle there.
Quite a
I
jump.
think in 2009 when we had to go in and clean it,
Yeah,
do that other work.
yeah.
Nobody'd been messing around and it was a mess.
So we took, and we have a lot of those photos when that was done. And you can see there was a really well-constructed weir, gravel weir, with a very specific elevation of where the water overtops it. And that had been filled in. So right now, the city and the town are working together to redefine that weir. And I think that's the priority, just to at least get that defined. And then there's going to be some other maintenance in the future too. Here are the guys. This is the hot box I was mentioning. So Bob's not in this photo, or John. Bob was in the excavator, so I got him there. John, I couldn't find a photo of him, and I was gonna Photoshop him in, but ran out of time. So let me just check my notes, make sure I'm covering everything. Oh, actually, I did want to mention, like, so in this photo, we cleaned out, that's Church of the Rock. That's one of our MS4 stormwater practices. So it had obviously been a long time since it had been reestablished. So we went in there, cleaned it out, and kind of improved it. We're going to put some wetland seed into it next spring. Same with Alair Drive. We did 2 stormwater practices over there as well.
So what do you do? Basically just tear out whatever sediment got in the pond and then reseed?
That's it. But we're gonna try and get more methodical about it. Like, so I want to, even Alair, so all these stormwater practices, they have a forebay where the water enters, most of the sediment settles out, and then it goes over into the rest of the practice. You shouldn't really have to clean the big practice that often, like 50 years, like 20 to 50 years. The forebay gets maintained much more often. And I think we just need to, so even if we don't get out to Alair, we're not cleaning the whole practice. We should get into a mindset of well, let's at least clean out the forebay and add that to part of our routine. But then even some of the wet practices, like Alair, it holds water. You only have to clean it out once you lose a certain amount of that original design capacity. So if the bottom pond is a certain elevation and your outlet is a certain elevation, you shouldn't feel like you have to just go out and clean it. You only have to clean it once you've lost 50% of your capacity. So I think we need to have survey rods or some kind of
So I was just thinking.
yeah, just
How do you know?
a survey point where we just know you measure 2 feet down from here, it's time to clean it out. And then add that to our maintenance notes so that it's just something you check every year. Because otherwise it feels out of control. It almost feels like there's too much to do. You're constantly.
LiDAR wouldn't do that? LiDAR is probably not precise enough.
No, because you would also have to measure to the bottom of the water.
Well, I was thinking over time,
Yeah,
could see how it was filling,
yeah,
but it may not be precise enough.
yeah. So,
Well, my one comment that I say all the time. We were never supposed to be doing this stuff.
Oh,
When
that's for
those
sure.
developments came in, it was up to the homeowners association to take care of their own stormwater, and here we are just doing it for everybody.
yeah.
It was never meant to be that way. It costs us a lot of money, as you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is time and effort, I
So-
think,
So along those lines, is that a policy for everybody? Like any business, they build the pond, we just automatically take it over?
so I wasn't involved. There was a calculation about which stormwater practices were taken over, and I think it had to do with the phosphorus credit. Which ones could we take over to get the credits to meet our MS4 requirements?
Well, the way I remember it is when this MS4 came out, which was after a lot of these were built. And the residents started coming down here or over there and saying, we just got a letter from water resource or whatever, we gotta put 100,000 into our stormwater. We can't afford that. And somebody said,
Yeah.
okay.
What happened in a lot of instances, the homeowner associations never kept homeowner associations, were never formed, and then their permits lapsed, and now they got title issues if they don't have a permit for their stormwater, and we don't have to, but to Kevin's point, a lot of these neighborhoods, we end up getting credits for the stuff we have to do anyway to meet our MS4 requirement, because we have two plans. We have to meet a flow restoration plan and then the phosphorus control plan, and kind of play into that.
That's all part of the state changing the rules. You know.
Well, they will.
And
been-
I'm sure they're gonna come up with something new in the next
Oh,
5
yeah.
or 10 years. It's gonna be even worse.
Yeah.
Less than
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the town own now 17 stormwater ponds that was added to the MS4. So we need to clean it out, all of them, in the future, like very close to the future. So many of these ponds that never clean it out. So that's a part of our effort to work in these ponds. Church of the Rock, as you see here in the picture, is never been cleaned out before. Many of these
None of them.
ponds never
They were just
before.
dug a hole and that was the end of it. Nobody ever looked in there.
Yeah. Yeah, to Julie's point too, it's like that's Church of the Rock. I don't think it had ever been maintained in any way.
But I don't even know what we're doing there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty,
In addition, and also we're gonna build more stormwater ponds, so that's another, we might need more people to work in this, to clean it out, all of this, at least to maintain it.
and that, you know, you gotta keep that in mind when you got all these, developments that wanna come in, 80 houses here, 80 houses there. Could be in big trouble here in another 5 or 10 years. We've got roads and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just my,
I don't think we're taking over everyone. There's certain ones that we have to do for low respiration. The way I see it.
well, my point is, you're not taking over everyone, but 5 or 10 years down the road, they're gonna be coming in when we have to do something.
The state might just mandate us, we have to do it anyway.
They might.
Kind of like we're doing what we're doing now. I voted against it. I'm not for it whatsoever. I think it's not gonna help out much. It's just my opinion, but I didn't want to vote.
yeah. We could spend a whole night on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's interesting if they would. They're doing that, like the issue for me is like it's Church of the Rock, not Church of the Rock's great, whatever, but it's a private piece of land owned by one individual.
Yeah.
And now the town's going in, it's like, okay, you can go down to Best View Farm and clean out their leachate system.
Yeah.
You can go over to, because the state is, the rules are changing now. And all these farms are gonna have to have stormwater on there to catch everything off their driveways.
Yeah.
And who's maintaining that? The town?
Well, that's where we're.
No, we're not allowed to regulate them when they changed that law a few years ago. It'll be then.
I can get into that
Yeah.
business, you know,
Yeah.
anyway, it's another discussion, but it's,
No, I think only the town need to maintain the ones that we need to own. That's it.
Yeah, so the ones that. But even then, it's Church of the Rock, the calculation that went into deciding to take operation and maintenance for that, like I'm not 100% sure. I just don't have that answer. Like I'm sure there's a deliberate process. There was a decision point why it was worthwhile to take over, but I haven't. For me, for this year, it was like, do we need to clean it out? Clean it out.
One we've had discussions on and is NMC's pond. is it something we could do? Because there's a pretty expensive project to do over at Hill Farm Estates. We don't have necessarily the full thought out answer to it yet, but we're like, oh, could we take over NMCs, enlarge theirs and redirect that water there instead of spending $1 million there? Could we spend 300,000 or 400, save money? So I don't know the Church of the Rock example off my head, but like an example that we have talked about, that's a privately owned stormwater pond that we're like, hey, we need one in that area. Can we just upsize this one or
Yeah.
and save money to the system by taking it over? So those are some of the conversations Kevin and I have had with Julie and others.
I mean, that's something you really need to look at down the road. Church of the Rock, but we're just sitting up there, nothing else.
Yeah.
Direct into that.
Is there a finite list of projects? I think I heard Julie say 17. Is there a finite list of ones that are definitely on the list and some that are in a gray area that we're not sure of, or is it?
Yes.
Is the
So
list done?
Watershed Consulting did a flow restoration and phosphorus reduction plan. I think is it really 2019? And so
Yes, this is the one from a few years ago. So nothing's been added since then.
no, nothing's happened.
Okay, because I remember
No, well, we are now Tanglewood and Clay Allen.
Church of the Rock being on it.
There was like 36
Yeah, something.
projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till
We
20,
had it
38 or
2,000
whatever.
something, but then the state girl said, but you know, you don't get them done.
Yeah.
Give me a break, you know. What the hell is that?
Can you send the board an updated list?
Yep.
Well, Jack, you bring up a good point that like some of these, homeowners are benefiting from the town taking care of their stormwater. And then some homeowners have to maintain their own ditches themselves.
Complaint you hear all the time, they charge $50 a house for the stormwater. And some of them will never see any benefit from it. They got to do it on their own. But that's just me. What's it you?
What's in two? But I think it's mapped out in that plan from 2019, what has to be
Yeah.
done, what doesn't have to be done.
Yeah.
So I think that'll clarify some stuff. So hand that out to us, we can review it. Maybe in the next meeting or two, we can have it.
And to be fair, like another comment there, but like Tanglewood, we built the pond because we needed for credits. They're still going to spend a significant amount of money as homeowners fixing their drainage into that. Like we're not.
That pond doesn't do anything for their drainage and their cellars and all that stuff.
Yeah, they've still got significant, and we've got to probably build. Well, we're looking at designing east-west basin, 2 ponds upstream further because we probably that takes on a lot of water. That part of
Yeah. And then some of the projects in that flow restoration plan we're kind of spinning our wheels on, like Eastview. It's like, and we had a meeting with the state and kind of gave them an update and explained, like some of them are challenging, and we're trying to figure out what's the bottom line value of a phosphorus credit. How much money should we spend on a project to make that project worthwhile? And kind of didn't really get a good answer. So working through it.
so like Eastview, a good example is there's already a swamp behind wetlands behind Eastview right there in Hardack. When you pull in, like what do we need to do? Just let the water flow into the natural wetland. And
That's
essentially what
the gravel out from the interstate, right where the dog park is. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they don't mow it. They can't build anything in there. They can't do anything.
yeah, so like why not just direct our water from there and
He's tried to give it to the town
boop.
15 years ago. Don't you want this nice piece of land?
Yeah.
Remember that?
The issue you're gonna run into is, I think, at least in the ag world, is that any is too much. Like if you don't meet the like there's no cost effective, like the state doesn't think cost effectively.
Yeah.
They think outcomes and risk. And so it just gets stupid expensive with minimal incremental reductions.
Yeah.
It's
And these are
not,
challenging projects. Too.
Yeah.
Like the Tanglewood and Clyde Allen, they're not easy projects. Like they cause stress. Like there's utilities, there's impacts to private property owners. They're working in a neighborhood, like they're
Gotta go
disrupting.
back to the beginning. Clyde Allen was one of the first developments we ever had. And we didn't know what the hell we were doing. You sit there on the planning commission and, yeah, it was good to me, Then you get, I think that had two contractors, the first one built two houses and bailed and made a mess of the road. And we've been dealing with it every Tanglewood, same deal. It was a hayfield.
Yeah.
Stuck 40 houses in there and little teeny culverts and,
Yeah.
you know, we've gotten smarter as we go along, you know, now I think we starting to know what we're doing
Yeah.
and bylaws have changed to kind of reflect that.
Hopefully.
Just like,
Somebody in 20 years will be like, what
yeah,
this guy's
20
doing?
years. won't be
Yeah,
any
but I also think, with like new projects, you got to, I don't think the state had a stormwater division.
Oh, no,
back
like,
years ago.
you know, when those.
But now, like, every year you pay money. If you have a stormwater pond that was put in the last 10 years, you pay money to the state every year. And if you don't, I don't know what happened, but I'm guessing you can't.
Well,
sell
it has to be
to
inspected. It has to be inspected supposedly.
We inspect ours.
No, but I mean, the state or an engineer has to inspect it.
Oh, yeah.
And the paperwork sent to the state.
Annually?
Believe so, yeah. So I don't think, a lot of the new ones that the town will never took it. It's all regulated. I think a lot of these were put in when
Oh, yeah.
regulations were vague, or they got a permit, but the state never followed through with the permit. So then it just went to the wayside. And then
Right.
here we
Yeah,
are.
like I think the one I think of is Hill Farm Estates. They just had a grass swale, and if they had kept applying for their permits, they'd actually be fine. They never had a homeowner association, so
Right. Nobody followed up and we didn't follow up as a town.
right. I mean, we're not the only one. Swanton has a similar, and so like their 3-acre parcel, and that's why they're under the gun. They got a letter, 3-acre parcel letter, and I know Milton's got a bunch of neighborhoods, similar situation. It's basically anything built in the 70s and 80s and early 90s is
But I get a kick out of some of these small.
That
towns
risk.
that don't have zone. You know, when they got a house for sale or something to go, and it says in the ad for the house, no zoning, no zoning.
Well, anyway, okay, let's move forward.
Yeah, so I talked about the guys. That's the hot box I mentioned. Just shout out to Dave. He, retirement. I just want to kind of voice my appreciation for all the hard work he did. I think a lot of things we're talking about today is the hard work that Julie and Dave especially did over the last couple of years. And Dave and I, this is the second time I've had the pleasure of working with him. He and I worked together at Western and Sampson Engineers. And so I felt very familiar stepping in and made the transition real comfortable and easy, and really appreciated it. So here's we don't have to go into a lot of detail, but I figured I'd kind of give you an update on some of the other things. I shared this is another culvert on Fairfax Street further up by Collins Purley. We're having V-Trans do a hydraulic analysis to see if it's undersized.
That's on the Rug Brook, that's on. the
Yeah, Rug Brook.
That's
And
right where that lot, where that trailer used to be, now we own it, there was a guardrail there.
We own it.
Trailer got flooded. Yeah,
Uh,
twice it got flooded.
So maybe maybe the culvert is undersized then.
There's your study, right?
Yeah, there's my study.
You see this one here? That's an oil tank with the ends cut out.
Yeah, I noticed that. But I'll tell you,
No, it is.
it is. And Jack, I'll say it's in better shape than that other culvert that's going on the road.
On the BFA board, they did a whole bunch of work up on the football field in the parking lot, because that was constantly getting flooded.
Yeah,
Because downstream you got an oil tank.
Yeah.
With the ends cut out.
yeah. I was like, what is this thing?
The old BFA trustees trying to save a few bucks on early costs.
The reason, so that I put this photo on the right, and the reason I showed this is because you'll look at this culvert and you're like, oh, it looks like it's in good shape. But if you're actually looking carefully, you'll start to see these little perforations.
Right below the water line.
Yeah, right below the water line. It's easy to overlook that, but it's on both sides, and the other side, it's actually worse. And so that's future sinkhole underneath the road. That's kind of future, that's the bottom of that culvert is probably going to look pretty similar to the culvert that we showed you on the French Hill. Like it's gone. It's likely undersized. So shared that, and then pretty busy. I mean, even today it's just a busy day. So demo of the 282 house is going to start this week. I've kind of told the guys the roads plowing, sanding priorities. When we get time, we'll take care of that. Full steam ahead with winter maintenance, we just went right into that. We're working on the Old Town Garage. We got an asbestos assessment back this week. Had some meetings on the Bay Well project today. And some conversations with the engineering firm that's working for us. So
How's that looking?
good. I mean, well, I think it needs to happen as soon as possible. And I think we need to just move it to try and have a goal of the new well being plumbed in before we turn the water on next year. And overall, water is running from the well to our shed. We have a 1,000 gallon storage tank in the shed. The engineer's current analysis says that all we need is 800 or so gallons of storage. So the tank should be sufficient. If that tank isn't sufficient, we can get an additional 400 gallon storage tank that can fit through doors. And so we can install that. I met with Chevalier, the well driller, today to get a quote to abandon the existing well that's underneath the shed. And then, while those things are happening, we're still working out this plan, but I think I'd like to do two things concurrently. One is getting the building ready for the water system to be plumbed in, while the engineer is getting the final construction permit and the final design where it's like, this is the elevation of your float switches, the specifics. And then they'll come in right after, plumb it in, and hopefully.
So we need the storage?
We need storage.
We need storage.
Yeah, so the well is between it's the well, they fracked it 700 feet, 7 gallons per minute, which is good. And between the capacity in the well and the storage in the tank, we've met his need. And the need is based on fixtures, essentially. There's only so many, it goes to the stone house. It's only so many times you can flush a toilet in a day. And so we're paying attention to that. Like, do we design for Bay Day or do we design for fixtures? And I think it's kind of a complicated engineering question. We're going
So
back
this
and
is the
forth.
newer well,
The new well
across the road,
across the road.
so the water tested out okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got some cosmetic issues, iron and kind of things that you might expect, but that's nothing that's requires treatment or UV or anything like that. But with that said, once we professionalize this watershed building, we'd like to have placeholders for future, treatment, UV, whatever we want to do in the future. So.
And the old town garage, did you find asbestos?
I haven't looked at the report yet, but yes. Yeah, but it didn't seem like I saw one comment about like caulking in the chimney or something like that. So I think we're still developing the plan, but I think we could almost include that abatement in the demolition if we wanted to, just make it one contract so that we're not, it's all just one project.
They're just gonna take the building down, not gonna break up the cement.
I think we're breaking up the cement.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We measured it 6 inches thick. It's wire reinforcement. I don't see any use for it, but
Did you say you were going to store it in the old salt shed?
no. So when we demolish the 282 house, we'll put all that timber, the dumpsters, and get rid of that. But then there's concrete underneath the garage. We'll take that and put it into the old town garage, because when they demo the old town garage, they're going to have to get rid of a lot of concrete anyways. So we'll just let them do it all in one shot.
And did you finish your survey of the old town garage property?
Yep, VHB did that soundings and survey. We don't have the results yet though. They gave me an update a couple weeks ago, but it was just a Teams meeting, so I don't have it fully internalized yet.
And do you have a date to get that back?
That's a great question. I think it's gonna be within a couple weeks. Like, it seemed like they captured everything that they needed to capture to answer the question we asked them. So I think within a couple of weeks. Um, yeah, Prospect Hill. I don't need to go in. You guys good with the update, or do you want to hear a little bit more about other future stormwater projects?
I'm good with it.
Stormwater.
Yeah.
Up to here.
Yeah, we kind of talked about East West already and Hill Farm, so yeah,
Plenty to do.
plenty to do. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin. Thanks,
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Good night.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Should I grab them now?
Yeah, if you want to do that, we'll just undo the chair. Moving along. Oh, sorry. Do you want us to move on? I can make it quick.
Town managers report.
It's
official.
Yeah. My last one. Casey will do the next one. I think you just gotta hit the Zoom unshare. Go to Zoom. There you go. So we got last Tuesday night the proposed budget from the police department, subject to their union negotiations. Our share is up 126,554 from last year, or a 4.6% increase. We've been digging into this pretty hard and asking the city some questions about a number of things we potentially could try to save some money on, and they're taking some of it into consideration, and we'll see how those go. There's a memo on your desk Casey and I put together today. Based on the budget we've looked at in the past and that would put our total budget up to 7.933 million, or up $387,000 from fiscal year 26, 4.83%. If our grand list is to grow by the 2.17% average it has the last few years, with some of the other revenue that comes in consistently, our revenue next year would be 7.39 million. So that leaves us a gap of about 540 million. So you're like, oh, how does that happen? So there's certain fundings that, we've used some ARPA funding. There's some other grant funding that we usually get, but we really can't budget on. You guys roll over. If we have revenue left over from the current fiscal year, you roll into the next year to buy down the tax rate. So that's all part of that gap. But that gap's what we ultimately have to close between now and when we propose the budget to the voters. And so Casey and I are looking at a number of options, but looking for direction, kind of where we can go from there. Some will be a little more sensitive to talk about that aren't in this. It would be more of an executive session conversation on personnel or real estate transactions. But the things here, like one option Casey and I looked at is we would transfer 10% of all the town clerk department expenses to the stormwater utility. The reason for that is Anna bills all the stormwater bills. She collects all the money. She does the delinquent. That's her and Lisa's time. That's their overhead, their postage. So using some of those funds to go over to cover part of her department, which is roughly $29,000. We've already talked about moving some of Kevin's salary and overhead into the stormwater utility as well. And then we would also consider an option here is put 100% of our culvert work into the stormwater utility. So right now we do pay about $15,000 a year worth of culvert work out of general fund dollars, but all of it is stormwater. related and managing water flow for infrastructure. So that right there represents an $81,000 shrinking of that $541,000 gap.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Courtney, because we've talked about this for
A
a
while.
while. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so we're just starting to put numbers of
if it's defensible, I mean, you know.
yeah, and I think we could probably defend some of the town manager's salary. It's how far down that line we want to go. We're going to start, Kevin and I were talking with Casey today. We're going to start keeping track of our guys' time, the crew, when they're going in to clean these ponds. We're not charging that to the utility now, but in the future, maybe if we say, hey, geez, you know, they're spending this many hours a year on that, we can allocate that to the utility in future years or
Why wouldn't you?
About going.
we should be. It's just, it's trickier from, it's just more administrative time, counting hours. Right now, the guys show up they do work their 8 hours, but we got to say, okay, these 3 guys work these 4 hours.
I thought last year they took like 15 or 20%
Yeah.
of the budget. Paid the storm repair, was that in there?
Is that now what's happening?
They did.
For stormwater account into the.
General fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how we pay for Julie there. So we can push more there. Another option is in October 1, 2025, the legislature now allocates 75% of the local option tax to us, not 70. So we have a 5% gain there. While we're recommending here, I had a further conversation after this memo got put together, while maybe not allowing us the way we have ours funded. Right now, we pay about $55,000 a year worth of engineering out of the general fund, but it's always going to engineering an LOT project, an infrastructure project, which we'd use LOT to pay for. So we could shift the engineering expense to the LOT as an option to shrink general fund. So when I'm talking shrink general fund, it's property taxes is what we're trying to take that pressure off of property taxes.
We can't just take that 60,000 and move it over, right?
I think we need an opinion based on how our vote went into effect.
We probably need a new vote though. To do that, I
Yeah,
think.
likely. But we could pay for, just be more diligent instead of paying for engineering costs. You know, if we're engineering a roundabout or a sidewalk, or there's only really 2 things we engineer: a large public goods infrastructure project or a stormwater project. If it's stormwater, the utility pays for it. And if it's the others, the LOT should ultimately pay for it. The one that I think is interesting is we have a significant balance. Number 3, before I get to that one, is cut events, not pay for those out of the general fund and tell the staff, Megan, we've got to go raise corporate. She's already kind of talked about it. We've done it in the past. Got to go raise sponsorships. If we want to have concerts every Thursday, get a local sponsor to pay for the concert. To do those things. The city just cut fireworks on first night because they went up high. I can tell you right now, our fireworks are going up for Bay Day. We just got the updated quote. Those are going up.
Double?
Not double, but up pretty good. So like that one I didn't cut or say was going to be dependent on raising revenue, there, but the farmers market basically and those type of events raise the money, try to raise.
It's 250th this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. One that I think is kind of a curveball and just thinking outside the box, we have a pretty heavy balance right now in the local option tax and stormwater. And we don't really have a project that can be built in the next 12 months or 18 months and realistic. Like we're still too early in any process to build. Like you saw this year, a lot get built because a lot of legwork went into things. Well, we've started the legwork for next projects, but we're not building a fire department. We haven't engineered a sidewalk. The health path is still too early. Nothing's getting built next year that is pretty capital intensive. So we started having a conversation with the bank a little bit today that we could lock up some of the money in like 6-month CDs and get maybe 3.5% on it.
Just curious, and maybe Anna knows Ian, how come that money's not already, isn't pretty much all of our money at the bank already in their program where they were earning? Okay.
The other funds don't sit in like a locked up CD where we can.
Yeah, they were, which you and I worked with them on, right? Okay.
Good interest, but not quite. Yeah. And we've never used that cash flow to offset
Is the
operational. cost.
120 though, Corey, is that in addition to, is that extra interest or that's total interest?
That's the total interest off of roughly $4 million invested. We were thinking at 3%, but we can get probably a little bit more. What I was thinking is 3 million from LOT and $1 million from stormwater that we basically put in with the goal of.
We know we're not going to touch it until.
We know we're not going to touch it for this next fiscal year. We're going to pull down the interest and use that interest revenue to fund general fund.
We're getting some interest now on that money.
Not a ton.
But the CDs have gone to hell, haven't they? No. You weren't?
No, they told us today a 6-month CD was their highest rate was like 3.5%.
3.5 for 6 months, and it's better than the longer term ones. So you don't have to put them in for 6 months and still get the better yield.
So we were thinking you say you start one in May or April, we'd be able to collect twice next fiscal year. And then we use the collection of that to lower property taxes in a new way, just instead of just sitting. I mean, we could just let it grow and do that anyway, but we're looking at budget pressures and trying not to raise property taxes. So it's an idea to discuss.
Yeah. And again, we can do that. Money that's, say, stormwater, we can take the interest from that and move it to general fund. Doesn't have to stay in the same.
We could create an investment policy for the town and have that be the investment policy that the return.
we have.
Yeah, but we can update it to.
Now, if there is $4 million in that account, can we have like a public vote to use 541,000 of that to?
I think we walk a fine line. Why we've been able to build these projects is because we don't have to borrow money and we do have that money. I'm not entirely comfortable with suggesting that we just go take the LOT, because what's going to happen in time is you're going to end up with a board and administration here that's going to load up that $1.2 million. And the LOT to me is such a dangerous revenue stream to depend on long term, because while we got a good payment this past quarter, it was less than that same quarter last year. You hit a recession that dips.
It's going to dip.
And so what we're suggesting here is kind of a short-term fix. I think there's opportunities within the city's police budget, probably not for this year. I think we've got opportunities in futures to reduce some costs, particularly like the city's paying, blunt, you can see in here is way overpaying for property and casualty insurance, workers' comp, all that, yada, yada, yada. They've got a few issues they've got to work out just from an issue where they could look to move. But they did shop it last year and would have saved a significant amount of money had they been able to move it. It's something we ought to look at. I mean, we're spending 110,000 or so in property casualty insurance. Can we save? We haven't even got our quote yet, and it's due in 16 days. Like, we renew in 16 days, and we don't know what our number is for calendar year 2026 yet. With VLCT, we asked today, and they're like, "Oh, we're mailing them this week." Oh, we hope.
Stuff too, Corey, just that, with it, to do things that we can make changes this year that are still going to be in effect next year and the year after and the year after. So
and then we get to 5 that we don't know the numbers on. Programmatic change, make some changes at the town that are more permanent, but they're cuts. We're no longer going to do this service, or this service is going to look like this. And then the ultimate, then 6, we can start implementing cuts this fiscal year to have a bigger rollover next year. We still have 6 months in this fiscal year. And then 7 is the last option, which is raise revenue, which is, property tax increase. Those are kind of what we see as initial options to start to close that 540,000. So what Casey and I are looking for is just feedback on, yep, that one's a no-brainer. Look here, test this one out, maybe get a legal opinion on 1 or 2 of these, see what you can do, and those look good. You're not going to hurt our feelings if you say, look bad, we just were shooting darts, like how do we be creative to try to close this without raising taxes? And so that's the list we came up with.
Is that a discussion we're having now, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, you probably want us to bring you back more options next meeting and updates there, I'm assuming.
I mean, to me, number Number 4 is kind of a no-brainer because there's no risk to it. If we need the money, we can take it. We give up some potential interest, but assume there's no surrender fees on principal. So that's 20% of it right there.
Yeah.
The only risk is other people know that you have money. Like, the state kind of threatened to put that into a bill to take away local option tax. So that's the only problem with that.
Yeah, I don't think we want to let that hit $10 million.
Yeah, like we just got to be careful with it.
Yep.
Because somebody says, "Oh, they're just."
You know what I'm just saying?
money."
It's either it's in the whatever the system is, or it goes around to different banks around the country, or we lock in this CD and just say.
Well,
I'm for it. I'm just throwing that out
Yeah,
there.
no, you're right. I mean, that's every year I've been here. That's one of the things about it. Should we spend it down?
And we can look at ways to spend it. I mean, do we put solar on all our buildings? I mean, we're spending a lot of money on electricity now. Do we try to spend it in ways that cut ongoing costs? I don't know how much we'd save there, but like that's an option. If we save if we spent, I mean, it would be $800,000 to save 60,000 a year probably, or something like that with solar, whatever. But like, do we do that?
And to your point, if we did that, I mean, it would probably be a year before that was going to be being built anyway, right? So
Yeah.
say in the interim, do a little extra money.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, like I said, we don't have, we don't carry debt. So it's not like, oh, I can take this money and pay off something we owe a ton of money on. Like we owe money on this building, what we talked about, we borrowed that at 285. We're talking about getting more. So it wouldn't make sense to pay off the building.
Yep.
And we're not using that. That wouldn't save general fund dollars anyway. So that would just be free up more LOT.
I would just say do whatever you can with 1 through 6.
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to play with that, I mean, you're looking at 140, 160, 280. We got a good clip of it done there. I think there's some options we can do to save another 100, 150 cuts.
I think that the last, again, 4 cycles or 5 that I've been here for, I mean, it's always 200,000, right? That we have
More than that.
back in, that's, I mean,
More
it's
than
always
that.
minimum.
It's like 600.
200, I think was the lowest one.
Yeah.
Yep.
We always carry over quite a bit of money.
Yeah, we can start to, and so like Casey and I talked about that too, is like you get your 541, you get that down to, we were thinking 100, 150, 200,000, and then there should be enough adjustments in the rollover to cover that for next year. And then we don't really know where the grant list is coming in. I'm just assuming a 2.17% growth based on the average the last couple of years, but that could be down. We won't know that until really April 1st.
Yep.
And maybe we could fundraise more money and we can make adjustments too. And we did ask every department head today to show us some cuts in their departments for next week, or start thinking about where they could cut back on, just so that way it's not just us collectively saying, hey, we saw your budget, now here's your actual budget. Like, hey, like start looking through this. Our goal, which we assume is your goal, is to get that thing to 0 property tax increase. That's where we'd like to be.
Or as we've said, at least inflation.
I personally would like to be down right close to what we were last year, or whatever that was.
So the expenses were?
Yeah, just to have it so it's even. I couldn't tell you, just because if the state's already saying we're looking at 12% due to school, like I think we owe it to the taxpayers to keep our level. Because I think we can. It's not that we're gonna close 3 departments down. I think there's enough that we can do.
There's opportunity to go get grants. It's just there's certain grants that we get funding for that I just can't guarantee. Like pilot, we get, we're just using round numbers. We're not anticipating an increase. We get highway aid every year. Some years we get a paving grant. Some years we don't. Most years we do, but I don't want to sit there and assume we're going to get it and then not get it. This be the year we don't get it, and now we got a hole in our budget. So those are like.
What happens with that, Corey? Like Kevin just showed us, we get a grant. I don't remember the exact number, but 420 or something on our budget of 550. So that 420.
That's what pays for your rollover.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that's, not that we can count on that, but that's a pretty big chip right there, if that's the
Yep.
case. Okay.
That's how we end up with a surplus.
Yep.
And we've always budgeted pretty conservatively as a town. You look at other budgets, the police are already counting on grant money. Maybe they've already got it, but in theirs, they're counting on certain grant dollars already being in the door. We're assuming no grant dollars coming in the door to pay for things that we don't know we already got signed contracts on. And we're pretty good at pulling down grants. And Casey and I talked about being aggressive and in the next year and anything we want to do, grant fund the best we can anytime.
I think a thing to keep in mind, since we're talking about budget, is I think the median household income in the town is like 53,000. I Googled it today. Could be wrong. That's what the Google thing told me. And you think about that's household income. And then you think about how people are living and how much more they can afford. I think we need to be super conscious of what we're doing.
And 500,000, let's say we close this all with property taxes. That's a 5-cent tax increase roughly. And what's our tax rate now?
Yeah, something like that.
I would say 57.
So that's a 10% tax, 9% tax increase on the municipal portion. Like that's not sustainable to keep whacking at that. And it wasn't too long ago that tax rate was 36 cents. And so we don't want to keep jumping it if we don't have to. There are times if you got to hit it for a penny every now and then. It's one thing just because costs do go up in demand, but we'd much rather, if we can get through this year and say Camping World comes in and we get a little bit more development and that provides more revenue into the town, it makes these increases easier,
Speaking of, what is the update on the Starbucks?
I think it's stuck in Act 250. Pretty dead, yeah.
What's
I think
that?
Act 250 issue. Not anytime soon by the sounds, but those projects come and go away. You'll hear about it for 22 years and then it'll come.
Oh.
So, all right, we can, we can make some adjustments here. So Casey and we'll have an updated one on the 5th.
And then did you have an update on Bennett Dawson coming before us the last meeting about the panhandling in the median? Did you find out the legality of that?
I just did some research on kind of what's happened across the state. There's about 5 or 6 municipalities who have had ordinances on panhandling, and it is a constitutional issue. The ACLU got involved, and it would kind of probably be a legal battle for us to implement some kind of policy on panhandling. It's a First Amendment situation where people have the right to be out there. If they had a sign or something, they can kind of be in the right of way. So
what about an ordinance saying that it's illegal to stand in the middle of those? I mean, those aren't sidewalks, like sidewalks. I totally understand. You have the right to stand on those.
I think you could do that. The enforcement on it would be something that someone probably could challenge, that it's their right to stand out and be there and say what they want or hold what they want. So that is that would be up to the board. I don't think that every single municipality, including Burlington, Montpelier, a couple other, I think Rutland Town was in one of those. They had the ordinance and they ended up repealing it because of the legal issues. So they did have them in place, but the pressure from the ACLU and other organizations kind of made them repeal their decision. So that was.
Sorry, Casey.
Oh, go ahead.
Does it make a difference to it? Because those are state roads, right? Can we make ordinances on state roads?
That's another issue, because that would be on the two, I think, were 207 and
104, right?
So I think, yeah, that's another issue, that those are state roads and not. town.
It's our best bet right now is to wait and see what happens in the other municipality. It makes no sense to throw your hat in and just to join the legal
Yeah.
bill, right? Might as well just wait and see. what
And
happens.
those medians will be gone in 2 to 3 years. Anyway, there'll be a roundabout. To be a whole other conversation about can you stand there?
Oh, you were awful, Mr. Barrett.
But yeah, I went and did some research and read some articles, and I can forward you something on it too that says just the research that I did. I compiled it, and I can forward that to your emails. And just there's a really good article written by the ACLU about the issues they have with that. So it's a good read, and it's good to know because it's actually
It's not much different than the guy standing there with the anti-Trump sign in the city. Like, nobody's gonna tell you to like, yeah, do I like looking at it? I could care what, like, I just drive by it, like, whatever. Like, unless the guy's like jumping out in front of your car, but he's not tapping the window. I mean, some people.
I also already cut it our legal budget in here. So if we're gonna go take on a big legal thing, I gotta add a little more money back.
but it does, and it cites each one. The article cites each municipality, and it says the link right to it, and it tells you what they, the ordinance they had and the issue that they had to, why they had to repeal it.
I wouldn't mind if you shared that with me.
Yep, I will send that.
Thank you.
I think an issue is enforcing a law and someone has nothing to lose. Ties up resources, doesn't change behavior.
But I don't like looking at
I don't know. I don't like looking at Toyota trucks, but people drive them all over.
it.
Easy, Jeff. Easy, Jeff. Jeez.
Hey now.
Okay, anybody have any other business?
No, we do.
Did you, get a hold of that slate guy or for the roof?
We called him and
Yeah.
he left a voicemail or the voicemail was full.
I'll follow up again tomorrow.
A quick update, they're not on the agenda. Casey and I met with Historic Preservation.
Yeah.
We kind of had them a come to Jesus talk where if you don't let us do something good, we can let that thing collapse. And they all of a sudden are willing to work with us. They said a good solution might be just to keep the main original roof slate and then do something else on the wings. They even are open for us putting the open air gap. There's drawings the town did 10, 15 years ago that allow some sun air because those were open roof corridor. And Casey and I played it as historically we should be tearing the roof off anyway because that's what they originally were. But we could do this. And so they said they'd look at the plans and work with us, understanding that we can't spend $1 million on a roof for a structure we can only use limited. They also talked about potentially allowing us to redo the windows if we keep the original roof in that center place to get some R value to make it more usable. And so they were much more accommodating than previously.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they mention something about windows and
windows and
energy efficient windows and stuff?
Stuff that we could-
They'll be helping to work with us and stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
So, yeah, we met with like the head of historic preservation and then one of her employees. So it's not our word versus his to her. It's, we got it from her. So,
Yeah. And I think their goal would be to have it a useful building instead of letting us.
yeah, their goal is they're striking the balance of what good is it being historic if no one can use it. Where if you can keep it mostly together and people can still use it, but adapt it to modern times, but still keep the historicness of it, there, it's better than letting it collapse. And
You still have a fund for that stone house, right?
yeah, and that's part of our change too. Like we've been robbing the Stonehouse Fund to pay for events. We haven't been paying for that other property tax, and part of this budget was putting an end to that too. So 5 years ago, we were raising money for events and making a little bit of a profit or a margin, and that money was going to the Stonehouse Fund to increase that balance. Those events are meant to raise money for the Stonehouse, not lose money, and they've been losing money. So we're trying to turn that back around. So I figured we'd rather have a roof on our Stonehouse than events. So, and for now, so.
And they understand we'd rather spend $1 million on other projects in the town
well,
to get tied up in fixing that.
And like we explained to her, if we do that, we still got to do the the seawall someday. We still got to do a lot of things in that park that are going to cost a lot of money. That's basically what Casey and I said. We're not looking to be cheap. Like, if it's a standing seam or if it's can still be a nice roof, but it doesn't need to be slate, really expensive slate. Or, if you look at the church on Lake Street, they're doing a metal roof that looks like slate. Is that a possibility? So we do it this one time and it's done for a generation or two. Those are options.
Okay, anybody have any other business? Hearing none. The next select board meeting is Monday, January 5th, and Tuesday, January 20th, both at 6:30. And third Monday. So is everybody good with that Tuesday, or do we want Wednesday?
Tuesday sounds good to me.
Tuesday works.
Because Martin Luther King Day is on the Monday, and we move that to January 20th. Everybody good with that? Okay, perfect. So January 20th for the next year. Perfect. So having said that, somebody like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter or premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Oh, you. It was further moved to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter under the provisions of Title 1, Section 313A1 of Vermont statutes, and to invite the interim town manager, Cory Parent, and town manager, Casey too.
Second.